Everyone, welcome back to the Not Financial Advisors podcast. And I am super excited for this interview because this man, Drippy2Hard, is with us. I have followed Drippy for a long time. I love the content he puts out. I love the community that he has. And it's honestly one of the best on Twitter, if not the best. Just his entire community and following is incredible, and that's all a testament to the person and the trader that he is. So Drippy, welcome.
Hey, friends, what's up? What's up, Adam, what's up, Bones? It's an honor to be here, man. And I mean, likewise, the community you guys have is just amazing, and we can talk about it all day. I just love what you guys are putting out. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
absolutely.
course, Drippy. It's been, a pleasure. I'm newer to the fintwit game, but one of the first people I saw really talking about options was you, and some of the things you see. Like I see some of your followers and some of the alerts you put out that people get are tickers I've never heard of, right? So that to me really sticks out. Being able to find multiple tickers doesn't matter who's playing them, what are playing them. Being able to get profits on some tickers that I've never heard of.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now that's a good transition, right? So Drippy, if you wouldn't mind just giving us just a brief
Mhm.
little description about where you came from, just for people who aren't familiar with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I was a software engineer. I'm still am, but a while back, one of my friends reached out to me. He was looking at options flow data. Before kind of unusual whales was in the picture. So we were kind of working on a something similar kind of software, but not at that scale. We were just looking at some old data, and that's how. I mean, I was a passive investor before that, but then I got into options flow analysis, and uh, since then, I learned the other way. I didn't trade. I learned the Greeks and everything else with the flow, and then I started doing options trading, and then uh, spending time 4,000 hours, 5,000 hours screen time, and here we are. Just making bread.
And clearly the results speak for themselves. And
Thank you.
I know that me and Bones, we discussed a lot of things we wanted to talk about with you, but we think that you're one of the best at adaptation. You're always
Mhm.
preaching how to improvise. And I want you to talk about kind of self, focusing on yourself, adaptation. What does that mean to you?
Right. So it's a good topic. I think adaptation to me comes from the life itself. So you need to know yourself as a person. Like, when situations in life come across, like if someone gives you an opportunity, like change this job, right? And are you comfortable enough to do it? Do you calculate the risk for it? And, do you have a process in mind for transitioning? And if you can do that on a whim, right? If you are that kind of person who can switch context easily in life, you should be able to do the same in the market as well, because it's just the nature, right? It's your nature. But on the other hand, if you are someone who is living a life where you like a structure and a regular thing, and you take time to plan everything, and then that's how you are as a person. You cannot switch context, or you don't react to the situations fast enough. um, then you should be the one thinking about, is this the right opportunity for me to trade in the market, or just sit patiently, plan for what's next to come, and just observe. So it just depends on the type of person you are, and you don't need a lot of self reflection to do this. Just take a week and observe your behavior, that on a day to day basis, like how do you respond to situations in life. And you can come up with the conclusion, like that, okay, I'm this kind of person, so it doesn't, I shouldn't be thinking about scalping when I'm a good swing trader. And there will be other person who is good at everything, but they're better at some things than the other ones. For example, personally, me, I like swinging more, but given the current market, I just have to adapt to scalping, which is fine for me because at the end of day, it's just a matter of following the same rules and adapting to the current market and resetting your expectations every day in the market, that anything can happen. And you guys have covered that in the past as well, the bias thing and everything else.
Absolutely. One point I really want to hit on that you just mentioned, Drippy, is the ability to not only change your system, but also stay within who you are as a person.
Hmm.
For me personally, I'm terrible at swing trading. I get really impatient. I get decent day trade type option entries, but then the next, maybe the opening candle is a hammer candle, but it's going down and I'm losing, 15, 20%. I'm like, oh no, I got to get out, stuff like that. So for me, it was finding the ability and really switching over to options because of how fast they move. And I think that comes from exactly what you mentioned, just the personality type, which is something huge. Haven't really heard that many people talk about it. So the fact that you talk about it, bring that up, is something really, really important and something I can definitely get behind.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it took me a while to figure that one out as well. Like, just going through life. When you go through a difficult time in trading, you start reflecting over things in your life. It's everything is bad, because that's how it is. It's all intermingled. It's not like a silo or a black or white when it comes to market and life. So, uh, when you're going through those dark times, that's when you realize the kind of person you are. Because when you're winning, you don't really self-reflect a lot. You just think that, oh yeah, days are great, I'm happy, let's just enjoy this time. But when things go bad and go south, then that's when you start questioning everything and the kind of person you are. And when it happens over and over and over and again, like, you keep going in the same like ditch, you figure out that, why am I doing this? Like, is it just because I'm not suitable for that? And that's when you should transition yourself to whatever you are comfortable with, rather than just like being someone else.
That's I actually really like that you made the connection between your own, how trading can actually impact your physical life because, your own emotions on the weekend. Say, I've noticed, if you have a bad or a disappointing Friday, right, it can easily carry into your weekend mentality, right? And it can
For
bring you
sure.
down. So what's
Yeah.
what's your take? And because we kind of all have a different opinion on this, I feel like, but what's your take on not allowing trading emotions or outcomes to branch into your physical life?
Yeah, I think no matter what you do, uh, the implications of trading will transcend into your life, right? So I think for me, it's more about managing those emotions rather than curbing them. I don't want to stop them, but I want to feel them, but be comfortable, and I like somewhat like manage them. So for example, the you gave a great example of Friday, right? Like Friday, I had a loss, right? For example, and I had a red day. Like what do I do next is the key, right? Do I let this emotion ruin my next week, or like what's the solution for me? So for me personally, what I do is I will size down, on Monday, for example, and
Mhm.
I will play super, super low risk trades, which are like, let's say 3-1 risk reward, or probably 5-1 risk reward. And also, I will only take the trades which I planned perfectly. I won't take trades which, when you see price action and you have seen some patterns in the past, you try to trade them, because you're fairly comfortable with them. But rather, what I would do is I'll just focus on one or two setups, and if everything aligns all in the plan, then I will take him. So what essentially I'm doing is managing the emotions and managing, controlling my damage. uh, that's usually what I do when I have a big red day. But small red days are fine for me, because I know that sometimes it's just the market, you cannot avoid them, so it's fine. Personally, I think managing the emotion is the key, rather than just like stopping them, because you cannot control them. Like, it's not possible as a human.
Yeah, I think what you just said is super important about, managing emotions and stuff like that. I'm also a big fan of stepping back. For me, it's usually I'm more of a day trader, as I said. So it's more like three bad trades. I'm going to take a time away and also size down. Most of the time on that first trade back, I'm one contract, and that's whatever. You can do that. You can choose not to. But for me, it just gives me the confidence back, and I'm also not risking as much since I have been struggling. So it gives me this sense of, I can really get in and think about where I want to enter, where I want to exit, and process, my rules, my system, as opposed to what is termed, revenge trading. That's a big thing that's caught up in my career, is going down bad on a day, maybe, 5% on the account, and then just trying to make that money back super quick. When instead, probably take some time away, step away from the computer, just know that, my emotions aren't where they need to be right now. My system's lacking. I'm not taking high risk or high reward, low risk trades. So just stepping back for a second and really evaluating before going back in. In a great way, as Drippy mentioned, is to, take size down.
Hmm. Yeah, and also, like, you brought up a good point about your system not working, right? Because I think that's the key as well. Like, a lot of people think that if they have, let's say, 2 or 3 red consecutive days, they start thinking that there's something is wrong with their system, right? And then they try to change the strategy, right, even without trying for 1 or 2 months, right? I think that's a disaster, because you haven't tuned the parameters yet, and your system was working earlier because of the whatever the market structure was, right? And market structure changes over time. So maybe your system is not tuned enough for current market, for example, for swingers strictly. It's not for them right now. I mean, unless they're just blindly swinging commodity sector, right? But that's also like risk only on table, because you can't really swing them with full size, knowing that tomorrow the news might be good and oil crashes, right? So it's yeah, I think you need to take a step back and think that, what is the reason why my system is not working? Is it because something has changed in the market and that's why it's not working? And how can I adapt it, so that what parameter I need to tune? Is it that I'm holding too long? Is it that I'm putting too much size in the market? Or is it because of other external factors, like the theta decay or the VIX crashing? Right now premiums are expensive, and if
Mhm.
VIX crashes, the swing plays will just go to dust, or will be hardly break even, because options not just rely on the underlying movement, but they also have other factors.
Right. And it was interesting because I saw you had a tweet that I really liked, that was about, is this market structure changing? Is this something that's going to be permanent, and how does this relate to your system? And so obviously, you have a system that works really well for you. I have my system. Bones has his system. We encourage everybody to have their own system. Um,
Hmm.
what I've noticed recently is, well, because I like to play breakout and breakdowns. That's my favorite type of trade. But like you referred to earlier, where if we're not adapting, then then we're going to get destroyed. So
Hmm.
often I've found, at least recently, you have to come into every single day with just a fresh mentality. Honestly, for me, it's been, I'm not even going to look at futures. I'm not even going to look at crypto, because if I'm like, oh, futures just went red to green, we totally have momentum, right? But then it's just one of those days where we're going to be range bound, right? There's nothing, there's really been no theme other than the fact that there is no theme. Or, the only thing consistent is inconsistency. How do you
Right.
how do you think how do you approach the market on a daily basis and try to come in with a fresh perspective, not having any sort of bias? especially when your system may be a little bit rocky.
Yeah, it's a really good question because that's a struggle for someone who is starting. Like they're trying to fine tune the system, but then the market just like whiplash, and
Yep.
it's like a roller coaster, right? Like, and you don't know, is this going to be forever, or is this like just how it is right now? And nobody knows that.
Mhm.
So you need to again, like, now know that should I just wait until like VIX goes below 20, right, and just take my time off and figure out other things and learn something, or should I try to intraday trade and see if I can scalp something? And if that's the thing, then you said, right, like, just um, one thing people need to realize is that it's not the strategy which fails. It's something else, usually the underlying parameter. For example, you said that you're a breakout trader, right?
Sure.
And someone who is a new breakout trader, right, like who thinks that, oh, this is going to break out, maybe you're not looking at the stocks which are about to break out. For example, Oxy broke out. There's so many things which broke out on Friday, right? Still a lot of people lost money because they were looking at the wrong stocks. So we, as a trade, like all traders have to figure out that what is the underlying parameter which they can tune so their strategy works for them still, you know and yeah. So for example, someone might have same set of stocks they are trading, right? And those stocks are right now in chop fest, right? For
Mhm.
example, they're tech stocks,
Yep.
right? And people love to trade them because they're liquid and the chains have a lot of activity, right? But I mean, like, they also have really nasty price action right now. So if you're going to use the same strategy, maybe mix and throw in some stocks, based on the macroeconomic events which are going, like, which might break out. For example, gold, commodities, right? So that way you're giving yourself some opening yourself up to adaptation without changing the system, right? Because your trade management is still the same, right? The underlying has changed, and that's a small enough change for you to adapt in the market condition.
Yeah. So based off what Drippy said, an example of this for me of late is Upstart UPST. I had never traded this stock before
Hmm.
last week. And last week it would have been Friday. Was on my watch list. Looked at it heavy. Had an inside day, so I was honestly bullish going in. Had a
Everyone
little,
was.
yeah, a little bit of bias, but I was able to play the puts on the 147 break off the watch list, and it went. I paper handed 140 puts. I mean, I
Hmm.
got 100%. Like, I can't not be happy with that. But they went
Hmm.
3,000%. And if I
Right.
hadn't looked in to Upstart, looked at the chart, that would have been a big one that I missed. And the reason that I usually don't trade it is because the bid ask spreads and the liquidity on Upstart's options aren't the best ever, right? But
Yeah.
just the fact that I was able to change just a little bit from my normal stocks, and saw some pretty differential things coming into the flow, that really changed and was able to get one of my bigger gainers. Didn't catch the whole move, but just being able to change, as Drippy said, and throwing in some stocks that you don't look at all the time. I'm a big fan of you learning 3 to 5 tickers, inside out. But when they're stuck in that chop, as Drippy mentioned, that they're hard to trade, right? Like, price action, you don't know where it's going. Chops are coming everywhere, flows one way or the other. So just throwing in a ticker that has good range, has nice, if you use flow, has nice on both sides. But also commodities of recent, like oil, absolutely running rampant. So
Right.
that's one, keep in mind with those commodities. So I think that point that you mentioned there, Drippy, is super, super important, especially in this market that we're going through right now.
Yeah. Yeah, in this market, because it's all theme based, right? Like, it's just every week there's a theme. There's a defense theme. Something's hot, something's not. So you just got to figure out and connect the dots. For example, last week it's Walmart. Like, all these, like, who would have thought Walmart would run, right? And this is a beast move on Walmart on Friday. I mean, I wasn't expecting it either, but it just moved and didn't stop. And like, that's how the market is. The VIX is high, so things move violently, and you should know that. use that to your advantage. Since VIX is high, you know that you can play straddles. Like, if either way, you can make money either way. Like, and it's hard for someone who is a trend based trader who has a conviction to get a straddle, because the whole for me, my system is like, I'm a conviction based trader, so I have either a thesis for a bullish play or a bearish play. And if it goes the other way, I try to avoid it, because my risk reward and everything was based on that, right? So it completely changes, and it's not according to my plan, so I won't trade it. I'm not a level trigger based trader mostly, you know but so this is an issue for me, because sometimes my thesis doesn't work, and I just have to sit. I don't like playing straddles, but now saying that, in this market I'm playing some straddles, because I know that that's the only thing which is gonna make me money, because I know VIX is high, so I need to take advantage of that.
Hmm. That's an interesting note about Walmart, because that actually was crazy, and it kind of speaks to something Bone said as well, is with his Upstart play. Some of these plays will look back and be like, how the heck did I miss that?
Yeah.
I find myself saying that all the time. Like, I look back at Walmart, and I was like, oh my gosh, one my best play last week was actually Caterpillar. Uh,
Hmm.
which I haven't played Caterpillar in maybe 8 months. I don't know, it's been a while. But in like insane strength, right? And I just luckily caught the move on the right day. And
Hmm.
I like to play the tech stocks. Obviously, we all do. But
Hmm.
if you're playing something with a 20-cent bid ask spread on not very liquid chains,
Yeah, it's.
it's got to do what you got to do what you got to do. But I'm telling you, you said it perfectly. It's all about adapting, and even forcing yourself, in unprecedented, market conditions. You have to have unprecedented learning, right?
Mhm.
And you spoke to this recently, how you're still learning every single day.
Every day, man, it's just like a blessing, to be honest. Like, I think fintwit gets a lot of discredit, because there's a lot of like, things going on which people look on, like, and they just don't like it, like other traders uh just calling out each other and stuff like that. But to be honest, like, if you look at the positive aspects of fintwit, it's a community where people who actually want to learn are learning. They just cut the noise. And I'm one of those people, because I've been part of fintwit way before I had my this account. So I just focus on learning, man. I don't pay attention to other stuff. And um, to be honest, like, following you guys, I'm learning, like, things like the 25% ATR rule. I've incorporated that in my, like, entry and exit and stuff like that. So I'm learning with the people. And also, when I am teaching something, I'm learning about myself, because I need to express those ideas, right? And you guys will probably agree with me, because you also create YouTube content, right? Both of you. So that, like, when you are trying to put out something and trying to explain something to someone, you need to dig deeper yourself to know that what's the best way I can put this forward, so people understand. And while you're doing that, you are learning about yourself. You're improving yourself, and you're realizing that, oh wow, like, like, I'm really good at this stuff. And that's last 6 months for me. I've been learning, adapting. And if people who are lifelong learners like me, I think fintwit is the best place, because you can find gems.
Yeah, absolutely. And going off your point about learning stuff and teaching stuff, one thing of that I've been using recently, because we have been having so many gap downs. I'm a big fan of retest levels, obviously, but when we do have these big gap downs, orb, or the opening range breakout on the 15 minute, the first 15-minute candle has paid enormously.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
and
Right.
just going through, looking back at it and then finally putting it into action, it's helped me a ton.
Mhm.
And if I would have waited on retest on most, like especially SPY, QQQ, the other indices, I would have lost a lot of gains just waiting on a retest of whatever level. But using that orb strategy, it has helped me a ton with the big gap downs.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think this is the best time for orbs because, since VIX is high, there's too much volatility. There's no retest half of the time. I mean, you're lucky if you get a retest. For example, the Upstart play, as you said, right? Like, I was actually waiting for a retest because it hit my put trigger. But then I was like, man, I don't know. I don't trust Upstart because Upstart can move either direction very fast, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'll just wait for a retest, and it didn't give any retest. It just flushed down like Tatiana, and it was like done. Yeah. So, man, like sometimes you just don't get retests. You're right. This market is just it's not for waiting for retests, and you need to realize that, like, what is the structure in the market. So, and Upstart had a bad news. That's the reason why it
Yeah.
had, and that's always in the hindsight. You figure it out that I'm an idiot because I didn't read it.
Well, as somebody who's constantly trying to learn, what's your strategy for when you realize that you don't know as much as you thought you knew about something?
Learn more every day. Just if I- I'm the type of person who, if I don't know anything and if someone knows, I want to know more than the other person, right?
Mhm.
It's just the nature, like it's just that the urge in you, right? But some things and some topics I don't really pay attention to. For example, uh dark pool data is something which I've explored earlier, but I've just never found an edge with it. So I also need to think about it in this way, like, is this learning going to accelerate what I'm already doing? I don't want to waste time on something which is not going to help my current strategy. So I'm learning, but I'm also learning things which will help me with what I my system is right now.
I'm a similar way.
Yeah.
I don't but also it's very important, admitting what you don't know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Knowing what you don't know, particularly in something that's ever changing, is is so important. I know that I've spoken to that a lot on here, but that's yeah, always constantly being hungry. And I think you made a really great point. I mean, Fintwood gets a bad rap uh, for a number of reasons, but tuning out the noise and bringing this all kind of full circle back to your comment about trading just kind of being an intertwined part of life. You know, how can you grow as a person, and how can you take something from FinTwit? How can you grow and make this part of your life? For me, obviously, it's become a large part of my life. I mean, I spend a ton of my time on here. A lot of my friends come from here, and it's been huge for me. And I know that for you, you have built something incredible. And what is probably the one main thing that you've taken away from FinTwit so far?
Um Embody success and also embody the person you think you ought to be. Like, it doesn't matter like what other people think of them. Like, let's say you like a trader who is, let's say, only 5K followers, but you like their strategy, right? And
Mm,
embody what it would be for you to be a successful trader. Like, think about it from a that you are already a successful trader. That's first thing I want to say. And second thing is, be a friend to your future self.
mm,
Your future self is your friend. So, like, think about it this way, like, hey, I made a mistake today on this trade, but I'm not going to journal it. I'm just going to ignore it, right? So, is this going to help your future friend, which is yourself, right? So think about yourself as a third person, and also think about this from a perspective of, what if someone was watching me trade? What if every day is a exam, is a test for
mm.
me to prove myself, right? And think about it that way. Like, FinTwit is fine to gather the knowledge and enhance it, but don't pay attention to the drama, because if you do that, you'll get caught up in something nasty, which is basically addiction to social media. It's not really trading. It's just, you're just imagining yourself in a trader's lounge, uh paying attention to the noise rather than actually paying attention to the gold.
I
Absolutely. And I think a thing to go off of that is also with FinTwit and with the positive energy is find a community that not only pushes you, but also is there to support you. Right. And like I wouldn't have found goofy boy Adam over here without FinTwit, would have never spoken to Drippy if it wasn't for FinTwit. So there are people out there that, have similar goals, have different strategies for sure, but they're
Hmm.
also out there with a wealth of knowledge and just learn from them. You can reach out via DM, whatever it may be. I'm sure there's multiple people out there who are more than willing to talk, whether it be, personal life, a ticker, something you see, why you lost on a trade. There's people out there that are more than willing to help, and finding these people, then building a community, building a group of friends who you might not have in real life when it comes to trading, because it is a little bit more of a, I'd say it's harder to find nowadays than it was when AMC and GameStop are ripping through, meme stocks are ripping.
Yeah.
Anyone's a trader those days. But now, once the market's actually back to normal ish price action, there's less people on FinTwit, but there's also those people out there who push the knowledge, who push wanting to get not only themselves but other people better.
Right. Exactly. And one more thing I want to add is, like, when we put out some content, right? For example, all three of us, right? One thing I've realized looking at like FinTwit as a third person, right? Like if I was following myself, right? And people expect you to put content, right? Hey, I want to learn this. Hey, I want to learn this. But the problem is that most of them actually just watching the video, right? They're not observing and learning from it. So do that, observe and learn. Like if it's a 10-minute video, you better, like spend 30 minutes thinking about that topic, because you're basically learning from the cream of the crop, right? Like those trades, they look easy on paper. There's a reason behind it, because there was a lot of effort in the background, right? Which we put, just not to teach but also to trade it. So learn from those, and like not just be that person who's just like, oh yeah, I watched this video, right? It's like, sure, I learned this video, I learned this concept, now I'm ready to apply it. So learn the concepts. That's something which I want to focus on.
Hmm. And Drippy, this has been great. Everything you've shared has been super insightful, and honestly, I've learned a lot from this conversation.
Yeah, same.
And if there's one thing that you kind of wanted to leave everybody with, whether it's a personal thing or something for the upcoming week, month, year, what would that be?
I will say that just try to be happy with what you are, like, love yourself, and grass is always greener on the other side. But in all honesty, there is no better life than yours. So love yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Simply beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm tearing up right now.
Oh my. Damn. Yeah, man. And anything else, if you guys want to add to that, please feel free to do it, because you guys are super positive people, and I really like listening to you guys. So the same question goes for you too.
Bones, give us a thought.
The only thought I have is we talked, a little bit before, and Drippy said that he couldn't tell the difference between our voices. So one
Yeah.
thing is everyone's hyping up Adam's voice, of course, but I'm just waiting for the hype on the voice. One of these days we'll catch some hype on the voice, and it'll get going. But I just want you to know I'm coming for you, Adam. Pushing my
Oh,
way and pushing through knowledge, everything on FinTwit, the positivity, all the good stuff, but also, coming for a little bit competition for the voice, of course.
all right, fine. I like some friendly competition. Um, I Drippy, to answer your question, balance.
Hmm.
It's been a huge theme for me, uh, probably the last 6 months. Learning balance, how to manage emotions, right? Because don't curb the emotions. Learn how to manage them. That's a great bullet right there.
Yeah,
Having
man.
balance,
Balance.
right? How, but it's all a learning process. It's similar to the market, right? Learning balance is, it's never going to be the same because something in life, there's always going to be something, right? Life doesn't stop coming at you.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's so true. Like if your house is clean, you feel like a new person, right? It's just things around you matter a lot, even if you don't think they do.
Hmm. Exactly. Balance.
Balance.
I want everybody to, if you're listening to this, balance going into the week, balance going into the month, balance going into the year. Zoom out on your life. And like Drippy said, love yourself, realize how far you've come to be where you are.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be proud of. A lot of people, and even making it through the last couple years, honestly, we should all pat ourselves on the back.
For real, man. It's been challenged this last 2 months. It's been a roller coaster. So yeah.
Well, Bones, Drippy, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for
Likewise,
being
man.
our very first guest speaker on the pod. Wouldn't rather have anybody else. Thank you. Thank you, man.
No, thank you guys, and have a great rest of the year weekend. I hope I'll hop on again if people like this. Maybe we can do again sometime.
Abso-freaking-lutely, Drippy.
Yep.